Welcome to Life, Lessons, and Laughter with your host, Glenn Ambrose.
Welcome to the podcast, people. Here we go. Let's figure out some self-sabotage stuff. So, yeah, self-sabotage. I think this is something that we all do. It just creeps into our lives, It's something that it manifests in several different ways. I mean, sometimes it seems like there's a block, right? Sometimes we want to accomplish something and we just kind of block ourselves. We just don't, right? And then so sometimes we see it then, sometimes we see it as a pattern, like we keep ending up in the same place, either with poor finances or just not accomplishing something that we want to accomplish, not getting through something we want to get through, something like that. So then a pattern forms. We start realizing we've been here before, and we're not sure why we can't break out of that pattern. So there's multiple ways that this can capture your attention. So keep that in mind as you're listening and as you're living your life, because a lot of times we're so addicted to external circumstances dictating what happens in our world, like it's not our fault or it's not our responsibility, or it's just basically that it's not our fault. It's, well, you don't understand, this happened, that's why, or so we're so used to that. That's so embedded in our social conditioning that a lot of times we miss this. This is why this is why watching for patterns is a really good practice, because if you keep seeing the same pattern, then you're like, oh my God, this is a pattern. And it has a tendency to lean you into the direction of you. Because, again, it's social conditioning. So when most people talk about patterns, they're like, oh, I'm in a rut, I'm in a pattern, I keep repeating the same thing, I keep ending up in the same place. When it's like that, it's almost inferred or accepted that it's our fault, which is a good thing. Everything is our fault. Not everything, but our life is our responsibility. So if we need to be responsible for our own lives, that's how we can make changes. If we're just going to sit back and be like, well, you don't understand, this wasn't my fault, it's like, oh, okay, well then just go sit on the couch then and just continue living your life the way that you're living it. I mean, there's really nothing to discuss. If everything that happens to you isn't your fault and it's not in your control, well, I obviously can't help you, because I could tell you all kinds of things that you could do, but you just finished saying it wasn't your fault. So I guess go back and sit on the couch and wait for the next thing to happen to you. So we have to, we have to take radical responsibility for our lives. And so we sabotage ourselves in a lot of ways, is my point. So keep your eyes open and, ask yourself, is this a version of self-sabotage? And having these little conversations is hugely important with yourself, to be able to have these conversations with yourself and just ask yourself things and come to the truth. Like it's something to practice, because it's an invaluable skill and you're going to need it as you move forward. Excuse me, needed a swig of water. So, so the sabotage. So, since I am launching out on a new project, purchasing some land here in the Dominican Republic, this is a venture that I have never done before. So, if there's any aspects, if there's any blocks holding me back, there's a good chance they're going to show themselves during this process. There's a lot for me to learn. There is for any of us when we start doing something different. I've been life coaching a lot of years, and of course I continue learning while I life coach, which is a wonderful benefit to it. But now that I'm going off into a completely new area, not only are more blocks going to come up, but some of the things that I kind of, I guess, didn't pick up on, or some of the things that I didn't fully transcend, those are going to show themselves too. And I'm more likely to catch them if I set that intention, because, which I did and do, because everything's new. So whenever you're in a new environment, your consciousness heightens. You're more aware. Why? Because everything's new. So there's less habitual things. Like, when you start a new job, you're like, let's say you drink a lot of coffee, right? At your old job. And it's just a pattern. You just go certain times of the day, you go get a coffee and you sit down and you don't even think about it, right? Now, all of a sudden you're starting a new job and you don't know where the coffee maker is. You don't know where they keep the coffee. So everything is new. So your awareness is heightened, and it's more likely you're going to go, hey, you know what? I'm drinking a lot of coffee. Maybe now's a good time to pull back on that. It's more likely to happen when you're starting a new job in that scenario than when, if you're in the same scenario that you've been in for years. Why? Because your awareness is heightened. So everything new is an opportunity. Whenever you make a life change or embark in something new, it's an opportunity because your awareness is heightened. So, whenever I'm doing something new, I take advantage of that. It's like, oh, good. My awareness is heightened. So, now's a wonderful time to tweak things that I wasn't aware of before. As new things come up, it's a perfect time to work through them. So this is probably why I'm doing this podcast, because, I'm embarking on this new project, and it's like, okay, well, I'm starting to see some things that I didn't see before. It's like, okay, well, and some of it is self-sabotage. So I'm working through these aspects. And what I noticed is, like, and I'm going to share my story in hopes that it's going to give you a real life example of what this can look like. It doesn't mean you have to be living my life and be in the exact same circumstances as I am to hear the message. Try to understand what the actual message is and see if there's an area in your life where you can apply it. So in my situation, like I said, I'm starting out on this new project, and but let me kind of rewind. I've been working on my business, doing my business, my spiritual teaching, my life coaching for many years now. It's my norm, and it has been for a long time. So, I don't know, 12 years, maybe more. So I've been doing this, and it's, I'm comfortable with what I do and how I do it for the most part. And I don't know, 5-6 years ago or something, I was just, I put in so much work for this business. And it was the same time that, I was a parent for 12 years before this, and I was with my son a lot. But right when I was starting my business was when he moved in with me full time, and his mom stepped out. So it was me, like, it was just me. So now I'm a full-time single parent, true single parent with no family, not real, n- not long-term friends that I leaned on in a regular way to help raise my son. Um, it was basically him and I for many years. So I was very busy with that and very busy starting and running my business. Towards about 5, 6 years ago, I was exhausted and I'm like, oh, and I'm sick of doing everything myself and learning all these new things and like, so I started streamlining things and having other people do things for me and stuff like that. So, and then I moved to DR and it was really rest time. Like I've told people, man, life had worn me out. I was exhausted. I was an alcoholic for 20 years. And then I, woke up spiritually and I already had a son. So then I was parenting for another 17 years. And I was exhausted. Those two things take a lot of energy. Being a parent and running a business takes a lot of energy. Being an alcoholic takes a lot of energy. After about 40 years of that, I was exhausted. So when I moved up to the DR, there was a lot of rest that I did really for like the three years and pulling back and doing basically as little as possible to keep my business running itself. And I had streamlined things so much that it took very little energy to run. So really all I had to do was work with clients like 8 days a month. That was it. I mean, of course I had to do other little things, and I kept myself busy, but well, I didn't keep myself busy. If there's always things to do, I'm not sure how people can, like get too bored. I can always find something to do, but I rested a lot. I didn't do that much. I took a lot of downtime for like 3 years, right? Now all of a sudden, I recover, I'm rested, I'm feeling good, I'm still, and then the creative aspect starts coming out of us, which happens. That's where our true creativity comes out of the stillness. So once I was rested enough and the stillness was there, then I started looking into different possibilities for the future, and this land project came up. I say all that because it's important to understand that I had pulled back from doing as much as possible. I streamlined my life. So as I was doing that, I probably went a little too far with it. And I had this mental construct that I wanted to do as little as possible. I want to do as little as possible. And after living like that for a few years, it unconsciously, it started affecting me. Not so much then, but when I started out on the new creative project, I started realizing that I had resistance to doing things, almost anything, because I didn't want to do anything. And I had taught myself to pull back so dramatically and doing as little as possible for so long that I had put these unconscious blocks up about doing anything. So I'd get very frustrated very easy when I tried doing things. And I'm like, come on, Glenn, and at first I could push through a little bit, just give myself a little, kick in the ass and go, come on, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's right. Oh, I do have to do some stuff. No, it's going to be fun. Yeah. Okay. And then and I got through some of the surfacey stuff then. And then I started hitting bigger blocks where because my responsibilities started getting bigger, so like I had to do bigger things that took more effort instead of just these little research things. Now all of a sudden I had bigger tasks to complete, and they took more energy and they took more focus, and I couldn't just play around with it. I actually had to be committed and focused on this. So I hit another level of blocks. So, and that's, and I mean, I'm sure I'm still working through some of them, and I worked through some of them already. But this is where the clarity really started coming in, because like I said, as I'm navigating this stuff, I'm trying to be very conscious about what's going on, what I need to do, what I need to let go of to become who I want to be, what I need to get better at for me to be who I want to be. So I'm very conscious of this. So I'm picking up on all this stuff, So this is really when the self-sabotage started coming up, and I'm looking at it, and and of course I think I started noticing it, but then I believe the powers that be wanted me to slow down and see it even more. So I don't know if I had some I know a guy I was working with brought it up at one point. And then I think I might have seen a meme and a couple days later, or a writing from some spiritual teacher or prophet or something, a lot about self-sabotage. And so I dove into it, and I was really thinking, and I'm like, okay, yeah. So it's all perspective based, just like everything else is. We have these deep belief systems that drive our behavior, and we think it's our intellect that drives our behavior. It's not. It's our deep-seated belief systems. It's these things that we really condition ourselves. Like, I conditioned myself to not want to really do anything on the computer for 3 years. Then I go get on the computer to start doing things, and there's this resistance because of that. And I start self-sabotaging myself. Now, I'm not doing it consciously. I want to do the land project. I know that I need to do some of this stuff, but why am I having such difficulty completing the tasks that I need to complete to accomplish this? Well, it's because on an unconscious level, all that conditioning created a belief system. No, Glenn, don't, you got to find a way to streamline this. Don't do this. Don't get on the computer. Don't do all that stuff. You need to rest. You need to rest. You did all this stuff for years. You don't need to do that anymore. Just let your business coast, like, just work with your clients. The rest is fine as it is. Don't do anything extra. All that stuff, all that pull back. It created this belief system that I don't want to do anything. So now that it's time to do something again, I've got that wall that I built up that's sabotaging me on an unconscious level. And unless I go in deep and, keep my head on a swivel looking for this type of stuff and go in deep and understand it, then, I very well could have shot myself in the foot with this project. But luckily, luckily I have a deep connection and a deep knowingness within me that helps me at this stage of my journey. Like, so I don't really question anything. It's like, I know that this land project is going to happen. Like, I knew it. I've known it since almost the beginning. Like, as soon as I decided I was going to do it, I knew that it was going to happen. It was because I was looking at multiple different ideas, and then all of a sudden this one just kept coming up to the surface, and it started feeling right. And I was like, oh, I could feel it. I was like, oh, this is what I should be doing. This is what I'm going to do. Oh, okay. And when I say this is what I'm going to do, it feels completely truthful. And I can feel that. So no matter what I'm going through on the surface, I don't lose that. I don't lose that deeper knowingness that I'm going to do this. So if my brain starts, sabotaging me, that's a benefit for me. Because if my brain starts sabotaging me and my emotions start sabotaging me and I'm not doing what I need to do, like, that's only going to last for so long, because I'm not going to give up. That's not going to happen because I know that I'm going to do it. I would have to not know that I'm going to do it to believe what my mind was telling me. And I trust my insides more than I trust my mind. So if my mind's trying to sabotage me and my inside is saying, no, you're going to do this, then I'm going to go with my insides. Oh, no, I'm going to do this. There must be a hiccup in my mind somewhere. There must be a self-sabotaging belief system. There must be something going on that I need to work through to get that out of the way so I can continue moving forward, because I'm going to continue moving forward because I'm doing this. So that's kind of how it plays out for me. So, this is part of like what I said early on. Learn to have these conversations with yourself, learn to connect with that inside voice, learn to connect with that inner knowingness, because as you just play around with it, practice it. I mean, I'm not going to get into it now. Are there tips and tricks? Probably. I might be able to do a podcast on it, like how to connect to your inner voice or something. But honestly, you don't really need the tips and tricks. I mean, most stuff in spirituality, you just have to try to do it. Which sounds so elusive to people, and it's not. It's just like everything's like that. Like if you take a physical act. I'll use physical acts as an example, like shooting a basketball or throwing a dart or shooting a cue ball, playing pool or billiards, depending on where you listen to this, any physical activity that you do for the first time, it feels awkward and you don't quite know what you're doing. You're like shooting a basketball, like what? They said to keep my elbow in and follow through with my wrist. I don't know what you're talking about. Like this? No. See, your elbow was out on that time. You have to, like this? Okay. And throwing a dart, like you develop your own, whatever. The first time you take a dart and you throw it, it's like the thing probably doesn't even hit the board, right? But you do it a few times. Do you know what you're doing? Even if nobody's giving you any tricks, you just got a freaking dart in your hand, just throw it at the board, right? If you do that 5 or 10 times, you're going to figure out how to throw it with the right amount of speed and giving it enough direction where you're going to at least hit the board. Right? Everything is like that. Don't we overthink it? And that's a way of putting blocks up ourselves. So just try it. Just try to feel something that you already know about. Like my name is Glenn. I know my name is Glenn, right? My name is Glenn. How does that feel? How does that feel inside? I might feel nothing. I might feel something. But if I do feel something, since it's true, it'll be something pleasant, like a contentment or a calmness or something that's not negative. Then I can say, my name is Bob. It just doesn't feel, I felt something in there. I don't know how to describe it. It wasn't anything horrible. It just didn't seem right. Right? So start like that. Learn to do this stuff. Okay. I said I wasn't going to go off on this, and I did. But I'll nip it there. So when you're, I know that I'm going to do these things. So if I'm experiencing this resistance to doing what I need to do, then I know that I'm sabotaging myself, and or there's a block, whatever words you want to use. So, and like I was saying, it's perspective based. It's what my perception is. So I'm perceiving this action as something I don't want to do. And so, I don't want to do computer work. I don't want to do this stuff. I don't want to do that stuff. I don't want to put a bunch of effort into these things. This type of thing. I don't want to do that type of thing. Well, yeah, after a while, I started believing that. So that's my perspective. I don't want to do this. So then when I go to do it, if my unconscious perspective is, I don't like doing this, I don't want to do it, of course I'm going to feel resistance. That's what self-sabotage is. It's just an unconscious belief system bubbling up to the surface, blocking you. Because it's not actually trying to block you. It's trying to give you what you want. I told myself I didn't want to do this type of work. So my brain and my body are trying to prevent me from doing this type of work. Why? Because I told myself I didn't want to do this type of work. So it feels like it's incongruent with what I want. It feels like it's going against my authentic self. Why? Because I adopted the belief system that I didn't want to do this type of work. So how do I shift it? Well, what I do is I find out what's going on first, right? And I go, oh, okay. I created this belief system that I don't like doing this type of work, and I don't want to do this type of work because I was taking a break for 3 years. Well, that break is over, and I need to do this type of work to be who I want to become, to achieve what I want to achieve, to go where I want to go. I need to do things like this. So that's my new belief system. This is just something to get me there. So yeah, I mean, I'll do some of this work on the computer if it means that I get to live the life that I want to live and achieve what I want to achieve. If it's part of the road to get me to where I want to go, then yes, I do want to do this. I want to not, I'm not telling myself like, oh, it's okay, I'll make an exception or something. No, I'm completely flip-flopping it. I want to do this. This is necessary for me to live out my dream. I want to do this. And like, I'm sure it's going to vary with each person and with each block, depending on how deeply they're embedded in stuff, and how pliable we are. That's something interesting about the spiritual path. It's not linear. So in some ways I might be further ahead than some people. In some ways I'm further behind than other people. So it's not like it's linear, like like I'm up here and other people are back there. It's not how it is with spirituality. But one thing that I've noticed is after 20 years of living like this, consistently working on myself here and there, and just living my life to the best of my ability, you develop a pliability, a flexibility. It's like a tree bending in the wind. Like you're not so rigid, you're not so stiff. It's easier to adapt to new situations. So once I get clarity, because in the beginning it was harder to break through these self-sabotaging behaviors because I was so locked onto them and I thought they were actually a reality. Now I look at them and I'm like, no, they're not a reality. It's just a belief system. And it served me for a while. I needed to rest and it helped me rest. So thank you, belief system. That's something interesting about our belief system. They always served us in the past for one way, shape, or form. It's just they might not be serving us now. So we can just change them, and I've gotten better and better at doing that. Now I can just, like, once I gain clarity on it, you can't change until you know what the problem is. But as soon as I know what the problem is and focus on what the solution is and start implementing the solution, it usually works pretty well because I'm more pliable than I used to be because I've done this a bunch of times. So it gets easier and easier the more you do it. You adapt quicker. So yeah, I started, I did it like literally the first time, like as soon as I get clarity, I was doing something on the computer and I really didn't want to do it. There was tons of resistance and I stopped, dove in, gained some clarity, decided that, oh no, okay, it's my perspective. No, I'm not doing something that I don't want to do. My goals have changed. I'm in a different place in my life. So I actually want to do these things so I can go achieve what I want to achieve and walk towards my next dream. So no, I want to do this stuff. And really, once I had that talk with myself, just did that for a couple minutes in my head once I gained the clarity, right? And I'm struggling. No, okay, figure it out. Hop back on. And this, I don't know how, I don't remember the exact moment. I'm getting little flashes of it, but let's say it took like 5 minutes because I was actually at the computer trying to do some work. And I was majorly resistant, and I wanted to stop, and I want, whoa, wait, what is this? Oh, it's resistance. Oh, okay, no, this is what I wanted to do. So I think I had already gotten a little clarity before this moment on my self-sabotage. So now this was my opportunity to implement it. So I already was I already knew what I was about to do. That's why it only took a few minutes. So, I felt that resistance. I stopped. I went, okay, this is an example. My old belief system is making this hard. What's my new belief system? Oh, I want to do this because this is necessary to get me to my dream. So I want to do this. I went, oh yeah, that's right. And I just let that sink in for a minute. And then I started working, and I completed what I was trying to complete. Like first try, it was that fluid. Now, does that mean 100% of the block was gone? No, I'm probably going to have to do that several times. I'm probably going to sit down at the computer, especially with a bigger task, go to start doing it, or think about sitting down at the computer and not want to. That's probably going to happen a few more times. But as I reinforce the new belief system, it'll just take root more and more. So it's about our perspectives. How we look at things is our reality, and it drives our behavior much more than our intellect. We can sit up here on an intellectual level and say, oh, I need to do this. I need to do this for my job, or I need to do this to find a job, or I need to do this to follow my dream. And then you go to do it and nothing happens. And you're like, oh, I don't know what the problem is. I always say to slow down, go deeper. We got to get it on a deeper level. This isn't an intellectual game. It's not like, oh, I think this. Well, now I'm going to think this. Oh, okay, let's go. No, it's, I think this. Going deeper, one of the ways to go deeper is to understand why you think like that. That's one of the best ways to go deeper. So that's why I kind of explained my journey earlier, because it's important to know the why. Otherwise, it's just, I don't know, I have some weird resistance to working on a computer all of a sudden. I used to work on a computer all the time. Now I have a resistance to it. I don't know what the problem is. That will keep a lot of people stuck, right? So look back, like you used to do stuff on the computer. And now you don't. When was the last time you did something on the computer that seemed fluid? Oh, I don't know, a few years ago? Okay. So what happened a few years ago, or right before a few years ago? Like right when you stopped doing stuff on the computer regularly, what was going on? What was your intention? Were you trying to get off the computer? Were you on the computer too much and you were trying to get off of it? So you would tell yourself, don't get on that computer and do stuff. It's not important. You don't have to do that stuff anymore. Like, were you training yourself to not do stuff on the computer? Oh, wow. Yeah, I was, because I remember like I worked on the computer all day at work, and then I came home and I would be on the computer all night too. And I get caught up looking into things, and I had to train myself because it was becoming unhealthy. I needed to train myself to not get on the computer after work hours. And it took a while for me to really hammer that home and create that new habit. Oh, okay. Well, that's it. See, you created a belief system by reinforcing it over and over and over that you being on the computer outside of work hours was bad. That's what needs to be reversed. It has to be replaced by your new belief system. So, so get your why. Your why is the most important piece. It's not, that's why I was saying it's not intellectual. It's not like, oh, I don't want to be on a computer. Well, now I do want to be on the computer. That has no weight to it. That's going to be very difficult. You got to understand your why you didn't want to get on the computer or do what, it's whatever you're sabotaging yourself from. It doesn't have to be computer work. I'm just using that as an example. So, what was I telling myself so I wouldn't do this? Oh, it was because I was on it too much. So I was I was telling myself that I'm on it too much. That's bad. It's not healthy. It's not a balanced life. You can't do that. Oh, okay. Well, that was true and it was helpful. Well, yay me. I succeeded at that. We're so used to beating ourselves up. And actually that in itself can block us from learning and growing, beating ourselves up. So it's very actually helpful to understand like that belief system served you. It got you what you wanted at a certain point in life to get off the damn computer. Cool. Thank you. Thank you, mind, for working for me. Thank you, body, belief systems, the way I was created so that I could change my behavior. I'm in control of my behavior. And I wanted to distance myself from this type of thing for a while. And I did. Wow. And it became second nature and habitual. And it really anchored in on an unconscious level. Isn't that wonderful? Like people look at this wrong. They're like, oh no, I messed myself up. I told myself it was bad. I'm such an idiot. No. You completed what you wanted to complete. Yay, you. You should be proud that you have that much control over yourself. You should be proud that you now have clarity that you can understand that you can create new belief systems and new ways of doing things. And after you repeat them several times, they'll actually become your new normal so much that if you want to do something else, you need to go back in and reprogram yourself because this is just how you are now. That's how much control you have over yourself. It's wonderful. And it also gives you the confidence to reprogram yourself now because you're like, well, I reprogrammed myself once. I used to work on a computer. Now I program myself to hate it. Wow, I'm so in control of myself. Well, now it's obvious that I can reprogram myself because I already did it once. Now I'm just going to do the same thing that I was so successful at once. I'm going to do it again. And you know what? In the future, I'm going to do this whenever I want. I can reprogram my belief systems whenever I want. Cool. That should be empowering. That's when you know you're into spirituality. It's empowering. It's not this, oh, I'm working on myself. Yeah, I gotta go dive into another trauma. It's freaking exhausting. So, spirituality is empowering. It's about happiness, joy, peace, living the life you want to, chasing your dreams, finding out how capable you are. That's spirituality. So use that success at creating your sabotage, your block, whatever you want to call it. That is actually a success because you were able to unconsciously set up a block deep down inside of you that blocked your surface behavior. Wow. You're so powerful. So now you're going to take that capability and you're going to point it in the direction of your next dream. Okay, well, my next dream, I need to do some of this work. So this is going to help me reach my dream. This is going to help me become who I want to be. Yay, me. Absolutely, I'm going to do this. And you start doing it. And it still might feel a little uncomfortable because maybe you didn't get rid of the old belief system completely yet, but you just reinforce it. You reinforce it. And that's it. I think that's really it. I'm going to just kind of check in to see if there's anything else, but really it's a pretty straightforward operation here, like, and of course, anything that I talk about, I understand that it's not always easy. So is living your life the way you don't like it easy? Just try it. Just keep chipping away at it. And I mean, it's extremely helpful, I think, having somebody in your life to help you with this stuff. That's why I do what I do, because not only have I seen it help a lot of other people, my clients, but I've also worked with the life coach before. So staying on the path and getting clarity on this type of stuff quicker, because, I mean, if you have, I hate to put a time limit on it. If you're completely unaware of what the heck you're doing wrong and you're just kind of trying to blindly find your way through it, you will still make it through. It's probably going to take a while, and that's one of the biggest benefits of working with somebody else is that, like, you'll get there without anybody's help. Like, if anybody says that you need somebody else, like, it's just not true. It's just much easier when you work with somebody else. And it's much faster when you work with somebody else because you're getting somebody else's outside perspectives to help shape you and be like, no, it's like this, and answer questions and help you dive within yourself to have those conversations until you get good at it yourself. And, there's benefits, but, try it yourself. If you need help, and get some. I'm around. If not, then great. Do it yourself. But yeah, that's it. Self-sabotage. It's just your motivating reason for doing something. What is your motivating reason for doing something? If you're feeling resistance and you keep sabotaging yourself, well, there's something that's making you do that. It's not just happening accidentally. There's a belief system down there. And if you can find it yourself, cool. Then you just reshape it, And sometimes, so I guess maybe this is the only other thing I'll mention. Sometimes, like you can handle the surfacey sabotage stuff, like tasks, like I was talking about doing a task on a computer. Oh, okay. Well, I can just do that one kind of easy. There might be deeper sabotages. Like sometimes finances is a very deep sabotage because a lot of us learn that people with money, I mean, look at most of the world. A large majority of the world doesn't have much money, right? A small majority has most of it. Why is that? Well, it's because most of us have a negative relationship with money. So we're taught that people with money were greedy and selfish and all this stuff, which isn't true. I mean, some of them are, some of them aren't, So like we have to change those negative belief systems about money to stop sabotaging ourselves. Otherwise, every time we come into an extra $1,000 and then the washing machine breaks down, and we can never get ahead. That's sabotage. That's a deep-seated belief system, probably about money. And it can show its face in a lot of different ways. So sometimes some are big concepts. And of course, the bigger they are, the more likely you might need some help. The smaller and more surfacey they are, the more likely you're going to be able to work through them yourself. But like I said, you can work through anything yourself, little by little. I'd just rather do it quicker. So get where I'm going, man, All right. Well, that's going to do it for this one. So thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And yeah, I'll do it. Peace. Good luck.